G'day guys, welcome to the Carnival Agents YouTube channel. Today what we're going to be covering off is select sailings, how to set them up in the system, what they're useful for as well, so you guys can access them at any particular time. Okay, first off I want to cover off basically what select sailings are in a nutshell. Select sailings are a very powerful tool that you have in your tool belt. What they are basically are they're group sailings that you can set up for particular voyage numbers throughout your Carnival Cruise Lines ships, so Carnival Spirit and Carnival Legend. Now, how they work, basically you set them up through Polar, and I'm going to give you a quick lesson on how to do that. But what they do is they actually have a little bit of extra like onboard credit attached to your sailing that you're looking for as well. So they're a great little tool if you've got a customer who's maybe found another price somewhere else and you're trying to match that price. The price is coming in, of course, exactly the same, but you want to offer them something slightly extra. Setting up a select sailing is a great way to be able to do that, because as I mentioned, if it's depending on the length of the sailing, you'll attract up to $100 onboard credit, which is basically spending money once the customer's on board. They're also great as well, because they're combinable as well. So if you've got a customer, we're doing a particular sale at the moment, so for example we're offering up to $400 onboard credit, you can set up a select sailing and offer the customer up to $500 onboard credit. Okay, firstly, very important thing about select sailing, firstly you do have to use them, you have to set them up more than 121 days prior to sailing. So if you are having trouble setting them up, check that the cruise is more than 121 days prior to sailing. If you don't set them up before then, you actually lose them. So you never get them back. You never get that one back again for that particular sailing for that year. Okay, so just make sure you're aware of that. So if we're looking at, September this year, for example, you want to make sure that you get them all in before you get within 121 days. Okay. Now, select sailing, you're allowed one per ship per month, if that makes sense. So you're allowed one for Carnival Spirit, one for Carnival Legend, and you're allowed one particular sailing within that month. Okay. And you're allowed one every single month. So you can have two select sailings set up every single month. Like I said, it's a really, really useful tool. Okay, I'm going to go through on how to set them up now and show you guys how to do it. Just log into Polar as normal. As you can see down here, I've got the login through goccl.com.au. Hit the login to Polar button. Once you're in, you can actually just sign yourself in as you normally would. Spelled my name wrong. Sorry about that. Okay, and then just put your password in. Okay, once you're in, just hit the sign in button at the bottom. Okay, once you're into that, you can then go through and you can make a selection. Okay, so where it says your select a cruise line, you pick the particular cruise line that you want to set your select sailing up with. In this case, we're going to use Carnival Cruise Lines. Okay, the page then refreshes. You then have this top section where it's how to manage a booking, create a booking. I cover that in my online Polar training. Very, very basic training. Then down here you have create and manage groups. Okay, so there's two sections down here. As I mentioned, you can only have one set up per sailing. So if you are unsure if you've got a group sailing set up, you can firstly click on the view group list. Once you click on the view group list, it comes up down the bottom down here, manage groups. Again, view group list. Click on that and it shows you a list of all your select sailings that you have set up. Okay, this being a training login, which is why it's a test agent. Some are doubled up, but you only be able to do one per ship per month. Okay, so hit the little back button down the bottom. We go back to where it says manage groups. We hit on create a group. Okay, the create a group comes up. We then pick down here. We can either do it by a date or we can actually do it by a particular voyage number as well. So I'm going to do it by date, 26 March 2016, and that's on the Carnival Legend. Okay, so I'm going to hit the submit button. Once you hit the submit button, it asks you for the group contact. You can use the agency manager's name or your own name if you like. It's just a matter of, basically who set the group up. Down the bottom down here, there's a little save and continue button. Click on save and continue and you'll see that come in. Okay, all your information's right here. It tells you who owns the group, and like I said, anybody in the store can actually book customers onto this group. And they will get all the same benefits as well. Okay, but one of the very important thing is you do actually have to load in the group amenities. Okay, and what that means is we have to load a particular code in now to tell the system that we want an onboard credit and what particular onboard credit we want. Okay, so you always see an LG1 or LG2 code in here. So you can ignore that. It usually comes pretty standard. But if you want to know what the code is, we put a little question mark right here. If you click on that, it opens up a little pop-up box. In the pop-up box, it gives you a little matrix on the sailings. Okay, so any sailings under 7 nights, you don't get any onboard credit. Any sailings 7 to 8 nights, you attract a $50 per cabin onboard credit, and for 9 nights or more, you get $100 onboard credit. This is a 10-night sailing, so you'll notice under this one here, we want to put a code of GS2 in for that particular one right there. Okay, so when we close that down, we go back to the white box and we put in a GS2 code, and then we hit the submit button. Okay, once we hit the submit button, that's now locked in. Okay, and you can see here it says request submitted. Okay, so it's now in there. So it's not much more you need to do now. You just go into Polar, make the booking, and when you go into the onboard credit section, you should see an onboard credit there of $100 per cabin. It'll be broken into $50 per person for the 2 lead names. Okay, now one of the other great things about Select Sailings are, and I'm just going to go back to the main menu so I can explain this a little bit more. If you go back to View Group List, where we were before, okay, and then down the bottom where it says Manage Group List, down here at the real bottom we can see the one we added in, which is the 26th of March. There it is right there, 26th of March. Okay, you can see what the sailing is. Up here it'll tell you how many berths you've sold as well. So once you get to 16 lower berths, and when we're talking about lower berths, we're talking about the 2 lower beds in the room. So if we're looking at a quad room, for example, a quad room really only has 2 lower berths, and it has even though we have a couch and a pull-out on the top Pullman, but we do only attract the 2 lower berths. So basically selling 8 cabins, 8 twin cabins, you've got 16 people in it. If you're selling 7 cabins and one's a quad, sorry, the 8 cabins are quad, you've still really got 16 lower berths, if that makes any sense. Once you attract that 16 lower berths, you actually get that 16th person becomes free of charge. Okay, and what happens is it's done on an average of all the rooms, all the people. So if you've got a couple of suites, a couple of interiors, balconies, the average price that everyone's paid minus your non-commissionables will average out to how much money you'll actually get back in a commission check back. Okay, so it makes a lot of sense to try and push people towards the Select Sailings that you've set up, because they are a very, very useful tool for you guys to use. And what happens is once the cruise sails, the free of charge will then amount will get generated to you in a commission check back to the store. Okay, if you sell 32 lower berths, you actually grab 2 of them then too. So you might get a commission check of $2,000 back, and that comes back straight back into the store profits. It's a very, very useful tool to use. Okay, so make sure you maximize that. Very, very handy as well. So not only is your customer getting the extra onboard credit, but you guys are also getting a snippet as well to be able to sell more in that particular sailing. And the great thing about the group rates too is when you look at them on Polar, you'll notice there's 2 columns in Polar. One side will say, a group rate. One side will say the normal Polar or the sail rate, whatever the cheapest rate is you book, and you'll still get the onboard credit. You'll still get that, but just make sure it is in the booking when you go to book it in. If it's not in there, higher chances you haven't put the amenities code in, which is either GS1 or GS2 code, which I just showed you. So guys, this is a really, really useful tool to be able to use. It's a tool we've given you to keep in your tool belt. But as I mentioned, just make sure that you use them, because once you get within 121 days of that voyage or that month, you cannot add them anymore. So a great way to actually do is actually to go ahead and set them up, okay, throughout the year. So 26 March is quite a long way away. Set them up, and then if you get close to the time and you haven't, and you've got a whole bunch of group that need to go, and you haven't got anyone on that sailing, because you can see how many people you've got on it, you can then go through and hit the modify button, and you can actually cancel the group. Make sure you want to cancel it. Yes, we do. You can then reset it up on another group sailing. Okay, so you can play with them as well, but provided you don't get within the 121 days, you can't change them. So that is basically how to set up Select Sailings. Very, very useful tool. Very underused, particularly in Queensland. We need to pump this up a bit. So feel free to contact me if you need anything. As you guys know, I'm Mark Richards. I'm your Queensland BDM here. I've got a lot of other videos on my YouTube channel. Feel free to watch them. And as I always say, happy selling, and of course, happy sailing. Talk to you guys soon.